Good day, math learners. For this video, we will be talking on the annuities and stocks and bonds. But before we proceed to our discussion, let us have to see the learning pocket concept map that for this week, we will be dealing with the annuities, stock and bonds, and loans. Let's have to talk first the annuity. It is a series of periodic payments made at a regular interval of time, such as the student's monthly rentals. Some familiar examples of annuities are installment payments, life insurance premiums, loan payments, or deposits in a bank made at regular time intervals. Annuities may be classified as follows. First, according to payment interval and interest period. That is, simple annuity. This annuity where the payment interval is the same as the interest period. General annuity is an annuity where the payment interval is not the same as the interest period. Second, according to time and payment. We have ordinary annuity. This annuity is a type of annuity in which the payments are made at the end of each payment interval. Annuity due, a type of annuity in which the payments are made at the beginning of each payment interval. Third, according to duration. Annuity certain. It is an annuity in which payments begin and end at definite times. Contingent annuity, an annuity in which the payments extend over an indefinite or indeterminate length of time. This time we have to know some terms to be used for annuity. First is the term of an annuity, or T. This is the time between the first payment interval and last payment interval. We have also this regular or periodic payment, or R, the amount of each payment. The final amount or future value. We have the sum of future values of all the payments to be made during the entire term of the annuity. Another one, we have present value of an annuity. It is the sum of present values of all payments to be made during the entire term of the annuity. If you are asked to get the final amount or future value of ordinary annuity, we have to consider this formula, where F is equal to amount or future value of the ordinary annuity, R is considered as the regular or periodic payment, or the amount of each payment. I is the interest rate per conversion. And to get I, it is equal to J over M. J is considered as the annual interest rate. M is the number of conversion period per year. N is considered as the total number of conversion period per year. And to get N, it is equal to M times T. And we have T is considered as the term of annuity, or the time between the first payment interval and the last payment interval. For example number 1, Faye deposits 10,500 pesos at the end of every 3 months in a savings bank, paying 6% interest compounded quarterly. What will be the amount in the account after 5 years? The given R, or the regular or periodic payment, is equal to 10,500 because face payment is at the end of every 3 months. T, or the time or term of the annuity, is equal to 5 years. J, or the interest rate, is equal to 6%. M, or the conversion period, is equal to 4 since it is compounded quarterly. So get the value of I, which is our interest rate per conversion. So that must be J over M. and then substitute the value of J and M, and that would be 6% divided by 4, and the answer is equal to 1.5% or 0.015. N is equal to MT, which is the total number of conversion period per year. So substitute the values of our M and T, which are 4 and 5, and the answer would be 20. So the solutions: use the formula to find the final amount of the ordinary annuity, which is F is equal to R times the quantity of 1 plus I raised to N minus 1 over I. And substitute the variables in the formula, and it will become 10,500 times the quantity of 1 plus 0.015 raised to 20 minus 1 over 0.015. Simplify them further, and you will be getting 242,798.50, or the answer, the amount in the account after 5 years will be 242,798 pesos and 50 centavos. If you are asked to get the present value of ordinary annuity, we have to consider this formula. P is equal to R times the quantity of 1 minus the quantity of 1 plus I raised to negative N over I, where P is considered as the present value of the ordinary annuity. R is the regular or periodic payment, or the amount of each payment. I is equal to the interest rate per conversion, and to get I, it is equal to J over M. J is equal to the annual interest rate. M is considered as the number of conversion period per year. N is the total number of conversion period per year, and to get N, it is equal to the product of M and T. T is considered as the term of annuity, or the time between the first payment interval and last payment interval. For example number 2, in a series of quarterly payments of 2,500 pesos for 3 years, find the value of annuity, the money at 16% interest rate compounded quarterly. The given R, or the regular or periodic payment, is equal to 2,500 because there's a series of payments quarterly for 3 years. T, or the time or term of the annuity, is equal to 3 years. J, or the interest rate, is equal to 16%. M, or the conversion period, is equal to 4 since it is compounded quarterly. So to get the value of I, which is our interest rate per conversion, is equal to J over M, in which we have to substitute the values of J and M, and the process will become 16% over 4, and the answer is 4% or 0.04. Get also the value of N, which is the total number of conversion period per year. So it is the product of M and T. So substitute the values of those variables, and they are 4 times 3, and the answer is 12. So the solutions: use the formula to find the present value of the ordinary annuity, which is P is equal to R times the quantity of 1 minus the quantity of 1 plus I raised to negative N over I. And then substitute the variables to their values, and our process will become P is equal to 2,500 times the quantity of 1 minus 1 plus 0.04 raised to negative 12 over 0.04. Simplify them further, and you will be getting 23,462.68, or the present value of the annuity is 23,462 pesos and 68 centavos. If you are asked to get the cash value of a certain item or service to a company, use this formula. Cash value is equal to down payment plus P, or cash value is equal to down payment plus the equivalent notation of P, which is R times the quantity of 1 minus the quantity of 1 plus I raised to negative n over I. Note that the down payment is not a part of the annuity. Cash value is equal to the sum of the down payment and the present value of all the installment payments made. For example number 3, Anthony purchased a car and he paid 550,000 pesos for down payment and promises to pay 12,500 pesos every month for 5 years at 9% interest rate compounded monthly. What is the cash value of the car? The given, the down payment is equal to 550,000 pesos, or the regular or periodic payment is equal to 12,500 because this is the amount to pay every month. T, or the time or term of the annuity, is equal to 5 years. J, or the interest rate, is equal to 9%. M, or the conversion period, is equal to 12. So, we have to get the value of I, which is our interest rate per conversion, and it is J over N. So, substitute the values of J and M, and they are 9% over 12. And the answer would be 0.75% or 0.0075. And also, we have to get the value of N, which is the total number of conversion period per year. And it is the product of M and T. So, substitute the values of M and T, which are 12 and 5, and the answer is 60. So, here are the solutions. So, first, we are going to use the formula to find the cash value of a car which is purchased by Anthony. And that is cash value is equal to down payment plus P. We have to consider the notation of P, which is R times the quantity of 1 minus the quantity of 1 plus I raised to negative n over I, and substitute the values of our down payment R, I, and N. So we have cash value is equal to 550,000 plus 12,500 times the quantity of 1 minus the quantity of 1 plus 0.0075 raised to negative 60 over 0.0075. And the final answer would be 1,152,167.17, or the cash value of the car is 1,152,167 pesos and 17 centavos. If you are asked to find the regular or periodic payment when the final amount or future value is given, use this formula. R is equal to F over the quantity of 1 plus I raised to n minus 1 over I, or R is equal to F times I over 1 plus I raised to n minus 1. Number 4. Elgin wants to have 250,000 pesos at the bank after 4 years in time of his graduation. He plans to deposit a certain amount of money at the end of every month to achieve his goal. If a cooperative bank pays a 12% interest compounded monthly, what should be the amount of Elgin's monthly deposit? Given, F, or the final amount or the future value, is equal to 250,000 because this is what Elgin wants to have after 4 years. T is equal to 4 years, which is the time or the term of the annuity. J, or the interest rate, is equal to 12%. M, or the conversion period is equal to 12 since it is compounded monthly. So get the value of I, which is our interest rate per conversion. So J over M is equal to 12% over 12, which are the values of our J and M. And the answer is 1%, or it is equal to 0.01. N is considered as the total number of conversion period per year. And to get the value of N, we need to get the product of M and T. And they are 12 times 4 is equal to 48. So, use the formula to find the regular or periodic payment of the ordinary annuity, which is R is equal to F times I over 1 plus I raised to N minus 1. And then, we have to substitute the values of the variables there. So we have 250,000 times 0.01 divided by 1 plus 0.01 raised to 48 minus 1. Simplify them further and we will be getting 4,083.46, or Eldron's monthly deposit is 4,083 pesos and 46 centavos at the end of every month to have 250,000 pesos after 4 years. To find the regular or periodic payment when the present value is given, use this formula. R is equal to P over the quantity of 1 minus the quantity of 1 plus I raised to negative N over I, or R is equal to P times I over 1 minus the quantity of 1 plus I raised to negative N. For example number 5, what amount will be paid at the end of each quarter for 10 years and 6 months if the present value is 125,000 pesos and the interest rate is paid 12% compounded quarterly? The given P, or the present value or the principal amount, is equal to 125,000. The T, or the time or term of the annuity, is equal to 10 years and 6 months, or 10.5 years. J is equal to 12%. M, or the conversion period, is equal to 4 since it is compounded quarterly. So, we are going to get the value of I, which is our interest rate per conversion. So, we have J over M, or it is equal to 12% over 4, which are the values of our J and M, and the result is 3%, or 0.03. And to get the value of N, which is the total number of conversion period per year, then we have to get the product of our M and T. So we substitute their values, which are 4 times 10.5, and the answer is equal to 42. So the solutions: use the formula to find the regular or periodic payment of the ordinary annuity in which present value is given. So we have this formula: R is equal to P times I over 1 minus 1 plus I raised to negative N. So substitute the values of our variables in our formula. So we have 125,000 times 0.03 divided by 1 minus the quantity of 1 plus 0.03 raised to negative 42. And we are going to simplify them further, and the result would be 5,273.96, or the amount that will be paid at the end of each quarter is 5,273 pesos and 96 centavos. So this time we will be talking on the stocks and bonds. Some corporations may raise money for their expansion by issuing stocks. Stocks are shares in the ownership of the company. Owners of stocks may be considered as part owners of the company. Dividends are paid first to preferred shareholders. Stocks can be bought or sold at its current price, called the market value. When a person buys some shares, the person receives a certificate with corporation's name, owner's name, number of shares, and par value per share. There are two types of stocks, common stock and preferred stock. Both will receive dividends or share of earnings of the company. When we are going to distinguish between stocks and bonds, for stocks, it is a form of equity, financing, or raising money by allowing investors to be part owners of the company, while for the bonds, it is a form of debt financing or raising money by borrowing from investors. Stock prices vary every day. These prices are reported in various media, such as newspapers, TV, internet, and the likes. For the bonds, investors are guaranteed interest payments and a return of their money at the maturity date. Investing in stocks involves some uncertainty. Investors can earn if the stock prices increase, but they can lose money if the stock prices decrease, or worse, if the company goes bankrupt. Uncertainty comes from the ability of the bond issuer to the bond holders. Bonds issued by the government pose less risk than those by companies because the government has guaranteed funding, taxes from which it can pay its loans. Higher risk but with possibility of higher returns for stocks. Lower risk but lower yield for bonds. Can be appropriate if the investment is for the long term, 10 years or more. This can allow investors to wait for stock prices to increase if ever they go low. For stocks, it can be appropriate for retirees because of the guaranteed fixed income, or for those who need the money soon because they cannot afford to take a chance at the stock market. For bonds, we will try to consider the definition of terms in relation to stocks. So when we say stocks, this is a share in the ownership of a company. Dividend is a share in the company's profit. A dividend per share, it is the ratio of the dividends to the number of shares. Stock market, it is a place where stocks can be bought or sold. The stock market in the Philippines is governed by the Philippine Stock Exchange, or the PSE. Market value is the current price of a stock at which it can be sold. Stock yield ratio, it is a ratio of the annual dividend per share and the market value per share, also called current stock yield. For par value, this is the per share amount as stated on the company's certificate. Unlike market value, it is determined by the company and remains stable of. For example, number 1, a certain financial institution declared a 30 million pesos dividend for the common stocks. If there are a total of 700,000 shares of common stock, how much is the dividend per share? The given total dividend is equal to 30 million pesos. Total shares, 700,000. Then, we are going to find the dividend per share. Since the dividend per share is the ratio of the dividends to the number of shares, then its notation is total dividend divided by the total shares. And then, we are going to substitute the values of our total dividend and our total shares. And the answer would be 42.86, or the dividend per share is 42 pesos and 86 centavos. For example number 2, a certain corporation declared a 3% dividend on a stock with a par value of 500 pesos. Mrs. Fernandez owns 200 shares of stocks with a par value of 500 pesos. How much is the dividend she received? The given dividend percentage is equal to 3% or 0.03. Par value is equal to 500 pesos. Number of shares is equal to 200. And we are going to find the dividend, her shares in the company's profit. The solutions. To get the dividend, it is the product of dividend percentage, par value, and the number of shares. So we are going to substitute the values of this dividend percentage, par value, and the number of shares. We have 0.03 times 500 times 200, and the answer is 3,000. So the dividend is 3,000 pesos. Example number 3. Corporation A with a current market value of 52 pesos gave a dividend of 8 pesos per share for its common stock. Corporation B with a current market value of 95 pesos gave a dividend of 12 pesos per share. Use the stock yield ratio to measure how much dividend shareholders are getting in relation to the amount invested. So this time, we are going to compare the two investments. For Corporation A, the given dividend per share is equal to 8 pesos. The market value is equal to 52 pesos, and we need to find the stock yield ratio. Since the stock yield ratio is a ratio of the annual dividend per share and the market value per share, so the notation for stock yield ratio is dividend per share over market value. So we are going to substitute the values of the dividend per share and the market value, which are 8 and 52. So we have 8 divided by 52. And the stock yield ratio is 0.1538 or 15.38%. For Corporation B, the given the dividend per share is equal to 12 pesos. The market value is equal to 95 pesos. So we need to find the stock yield ratio. Again, since the stock yield ratio is a ratio of the annual dividend per share and the market value per share, so the notation for the stock yield ratio is dividend per share divided by market value. And then, we are going to substitute the values of the dividend per share and the market value. 12 divided by 95 is equal to 0.1263 or 12.63% as the stock yield ratio. So we conclude that the Corporation A has a higher stock yield ratio than Corporation B. Thus, each peso would earn you more if you invest in Corporation A than in Corporation B. If all other things are equal, then it is wiser to invest in Corporation A. Please take note, class, that the stock yield ratio can be used to compare two or more investments. More information about bonds and loans will be discussed in the next video. Thank you for listening, math learners. See you next time.